What's up, y'all? Rob Anderson here. Um, I thought I'd chime in on something that I saw in the groups the last couple days, um, in two different situations. One was a vendor, and a new client, new customer. Um, I found it really odd how all of it went down and kind of the reactions. It's unfortunate when you're reading an email, um, and somebody wants to read a whole lot more into it than's there. That's why we use Voxer for communicating with our techs and teams, so that if in fact we are mad about something or somebody's pissed, you can hear it instead of reading into it. You can hear their voice, their intonation, and what they're actually saying. Um, so a situation, basically somebody placed an order for some chemical, sounds like, it had been a couple days, and um, it hadn't shipped yet or whatever. They were waiting on a product or waiting for something to come in. And basically, because the customer emailed in, said they were unhappy, that this is how things were starting off, because they had, I guess, a shipping label that they thought was supposed to show, or somewhere it sounded like they thought that the shipping label and that it said it had been delivered or that it was in progress, but it hadn't even been shipped out yet. So that's always a challenge. And I think that's where this whole thing goes from being just making sure that your process as a company is clear, um, and not jumping to somebody's, start calling names and flipping out on people. I think that's the thing that kind of blows my mind, is that the vendor really doubled down on, I don't want to serve this person, they're horrible, or that, I don't put up with this crap, we have too much going on. And it's an unnecessary arrogance. The contractor went on and on about, we don't put up with that crap. And it's not like the person was like, granted, we have two screenshots, so it doesn't even look like the person was being belligerent. They were just saying like, hey, it's the first time I'm ordering, and, their expectations, and granted, we can all blame and thank Jeff Bezos and Amazon for this. We all expect, you place the order and 2 days later it's here. Russ Johnson always had that reputation from the beginning. We would call him Santa Russ, because it was just like instantly there. Sometimes you didn't even have it invoiced yet, and it was already here. And this has nothing to do with Russ, by the way. But I just found it interesting. And when a client's unhappy about something, I try to not give discounts or anything like that. We do try to figure out, okay, hey, what went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Is there something that we need to clarify in our process? We've been doing this for 20 years to make sure that lack of clarity, we had a house that guys didn't rinse it sufficiently. Bleach got on the person's clothing, and outlets were tripped. And so we sent the full screenshot of the full, the client's message to our entire staff so they could see it. It's very clear that, the issue was we didn't rinse sufficiently. It's also clear that, water was sprayed in an area and caused something to trip. And so, going over and explaining with the guys, like, hey, if a client messages you about this, our biggest concern with tripped outlets is that what happens if it's also tied into the garage, and that's also where their refrigerator's plugged into it. Their backup, their garage fridge, and all of a sudden that gets ruined. So that's just where, you always want to look at those opportunities. It's not always that the customer's right. It's not a thing where we have to accommodate everybody. We certainly have fired plenty of clients over the years. And we will in the future too. And there's just some people that just aren't worth it. Some people you have to be firm with. Some people, understand the situation and be, realistic. I feel like my ear is like getting burned up by the sun right now. The other situation, marketing buddy of mine, had somebody that like reached out, wanted a phone number to call, apparently called the person's company and was transferred several times. Said 5 times. I'd be very surprised if it actually was in fact 5 times on their initial call. And just knowing, how big this guy's company is, it's literally like, my ears are so bright red. But it's, the person starts, dropping the F-bomb. And that right there, like when you haven't even started doing business with each other, one, for the marketing person, for the company owner, like, okay, this person got really, really mad. They got transferred 5 times. You have to hear what they're actually saying. Forget about the F-bomb. Like that's completely unnecessary. You're starting off that way. But also, and that may mean that, hey, this person, they're very frustrated. I wouldn't give them some discount, but I'm going to, before responding about all that, one, dude, relax. Let's get it figured out. Let's get you taken care of. But also, I'm checking with my staff and saying, hey, who talked to this guy? Like, what happened? With the size company he's got, I'm sure the calls are recorded. I'm sure that there's a way to see what's going on between this person and that person. And in all likelihood, if somebody got passed 5 times, either there's an issue, there could be an issue with how they're routing the calls. There could be this person was a jerk to somebody, and so they kept passing them off. It could have been that there was a lack of clarity in what this person was asking for. It didn't sound like they were looking for a status update. It looked like they were literally starting to try and place orders, and something just went off the rails. So the decision to not do business with this person anymore, I think that's simple. I think that's an easy thing to figure out. That, hey, it just might not be a good fit. But that doesn't mean that this guy was just crazy. No, you gotta look at it and learn and figure out what part of this is our fault. What did we not do? When I worked for Verizon, there was always, people would transfer people like crazy, and you'd get bounced around because some people didn't want to deal with your billing issue, and so they just wanted to get to the next call that they could possibly sell something on. Or, somebody didn't know how to do their job properly, and so they would transfer them to our finance department to make payment arrangements, even though my department could make that. Or they got transferred to a vendor who didn't have the correct capacity to resolve that. And so, like, from a big corporate standpoint, saying, okay, we're doing all these transfers. How do we reduce transfers? Because nobody wants to be transferred. And how do we improve first call resolution? How do we get that done? How do we make sure that, the right information is being passed to these people immediately, but also, like, hey, all of a sudden these people are calling because there keeps being an issue where we're sending out a notification to clients that, hey, would you like to tip us, but the job's not complete, or whatever the process might be. Use those opportunities to learn. And also, I again, back to the original one, I'm really kind of blown away that the contractor would literally like lose it on somebody so fast when it's such a little thing. They just wanted a status update, and they're it's not saying I'm pissed off that my stuff isn't here yet. I'm unhappy and this is my first order. I'm unhappy this is my first order. Those are 2 different ways to read that. And depending on what's going on with the person who is receiving that email, they could have had a crappy night the night before, and so now they're just pissed off at the world. They overslept or whatever else, and so now they're reading that there's more anger in that. They're interpreting it different. We've dealt with staff that definitely perceived things as, I would give simple instructions or something, and the way that he was interpreting it was that there was all these curse words and so mad and all these things going on, and it's like, that's not actually what's happening. So anyway, just some food for thought. Have a great day, y'all.